Hello. If you are watching this Edpuzzle, that is because you would like to retake the test. You can retake it if you got below a 75 and then bring it up to a 75. I'm going to require you to take it if you got below a 70 because I want to make sure you know all the content. If you got 70 or higher, it's up to you. So you will watch this Edpuzzle, and then if you feel like you're in good shape, you will take the test during lunch on Tuesday, either in the classroom or you can do it online if you are at home. Okay, so we will work all of that out, but you will do it during your lunch, either first lunch or second lunch in the classroom or at home. If you would like additional help, I will have a Zoom on Friday at 4 o'clock. It will be completely optional, but for 1 hour, you can come in and ask questions. And then I'm also going to be available tomorrow and Friday after school for the Gold Kids, not after school, but before school, for the Gold Kids. So if you want to come tomorrow and or Friday morning, feel free. You can come at 7:30. And if you are in school on Monday, you can come Monday and or Tuesday at 7:30. So there will be time 2 days. The 2 you are in school, you can come in the morning if you want also to get more help. Those are optional. Zoom Friday at 4, optional. Mornings before school. If you are retaking this, then you will be taking either one or both of two parts. You will either redo page 2 with the function stuff, or you'll redo the mixture problem. You can do both of them if you need the points, or you can just do one or the other if you don't need all of them. So I'm going to go through both of those. So let's start with the function operations, which was the page 2. So there are 4 types, really 5 types of operations. I don't think I gave you one of them, but there are 5. There's adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, just like regular, right? And then there's that new one, composition. So let's go through the 4 basic ones first that are very similar to what you already knew, which was adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So I'm going to try a slightly different approach as I teach this. Maybe this will help you if you didn't get the one like the way I did it before. So if you're going to add 2 functions. So here I have problem number 1 is I'm going to add f and g. And these functions I have here are pretty much the ones that were at least on one version, maybe a combo of the 2 versions of the test. So the first thing you might be asked to do is to add 2 functions. I keep forgetting. I've done this video a couple of times and I keep forgetting I don't want to put enough here. 1, 2 each. Okay. So if I'm asked to add h and g, then I really just want to write down what h says, which is x squared, add what g says, what they are defined as. Okay, so I'm just writing down what h is, that's this part, and then what g is, this part, and notice there's a plus in between because this is a plus problem. Then I need to look inside my parentheses. Inside my parentheses, it tells me what I need to use in place of the variable that is written. Okay, now look, I highlighted an X, and what do I have on the right side? An X. So there's no changing I have to do because I already have the letter that I've been asked to use. But they might ask me to use a different letter. What if they ask me to use M instead? Okay, so if they ask me to use M's instead, that means everywhere I saw an X above, I need to replace it with an M. And that's it. Okay, so I'm just swapping out. I'm substituting. In place of the X's, I put M's. Now, what if they put a number here that they wanted to use? So now that means everywhere I saw a variable, a letter, above, I have to put a 2. Okay, so there was an M squared, so now it's a 2 squared. There was an M, so that's just a 2. So that is 4 plus 2 is 6 minus 1 is 5. And I can do that for any letter. I can do that for any number. But notice it's a swap out. You are substituting. You are removing the X and putting in its place whatever I highlighted. And I highlighted what was in the second parentheses. Okay, so that's how it works to add them. How about subtracting? To subtract, I write down what the H is. I write down a minus. Then I'm going to write down what the G is. You have to be careful here though, because we have a subtraction of a negative, so that's going to be a +1. But wanted now to use an X, and when I look, those are all X's, so it's good. What if they wanted me instead to use P's? Okay, so right there tells me what they wanted me to use. So that means everywhere I saw an X above, I put a P in its place. What if instead they wanted me to use a 1? That means everywhere above that I see a P or an X, either one should be the same, I put a 1. So that will be equal to 1. So notice, if the highlighting that I did is a number, then my answer will be a number. Okay, so see these two where the highlighting was a number and my answer was a number? If the highlighting was a variable, then that variable is what I should have. I should not have any other letter, but I should see that letter. Okay, and then there is multiplication. Now multiplication is what threw a few people. Multiplication is a closed dot, just like you're used to always seeing. It's not the open circle. I'll talk about that one in a second. So this is multiplication. So this means I need to write down what the X or the H is. I need to write down what the G is, and I need to multiply them. And recall, when you multiply, you need to distribute. Now, if I highlight what was in the parentheses, it's an X. I should have all X's over there. If they wanted me to do it with, let's say, W's, then everywhere I saw an X, I put a W. If they wanted me to do it with, let's say 3, then everywhere I see a W or an X, depending which one you're looking at, I put a 3. And I literally put it in the place of the variable. I don't push it next to it. It's not going next to it. It's going in place of it. So that is not 27 minus 9, so that's 18. And again, notice that was a number that I highlighted, so my answer has to be a number. Okay, so I'll put a little pause in here if you want to take a picture of this and go over that some more. If you go into my content library, there were extra practice of these problems, and you can look at them and do them. All right, so the next thing we need to do, okay, so there's also division. Division, you just put the one that's on top over the one on bottom, and it's very straightforward. But the last thing for these functions is these that had open circle. And that is composition of functions. That's a new one. That's the new one. It's the nesting, and I showed it with boxes. But to keep you from confusing it with that dot that we just looked at a minute ago, I only put it like this on the test. Okay? So you didn't have any open circles. There were no places where you had any kind of symbol that you were doing this. These are just a bunch of letters and parentheses, right? There's no times, there's no plus, there's no minus. And I keep using that F because I like F so much, but it will not work in this example, F. So I need to change it to an H. All right. So let's do this one first. I'm going to erase the second one so we have enough room. And remember, what's going to happen is we're going to put into G, and we know it goes into G first because it was closest to the end. And then we put it into H. And down here, I want to write down what my G and H are. So I have those. And then I'm going to put what's here into my first box. So that means I'm going to put X into my G box. So that means wherever I have an X, I'm going to put what? Oh, an X again. So that doesn't actually change anything on the first box. And so then what comes out is an X minus 1. But that does change something for the second box. Because for the second box, wherever I see X, I put X minus 1. And so that will be my answer, X minus 1 squared. But you gotta do FOIL, guys. Don't forget to do FOIL. And so there's my answer. Okay, so I could do that also with a number. Okay, so my boxes are the same. Because I didn't change the order or anything. All I did was change what my input is. So now my input is a 2. So 2 goes into G, and wherever I see X, I put a 2. So now it's, and remember, it's just substitution. I just put the number in for the letter. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So now wherever I see X in H, I put a 1. So that's 1 squared is 1. Now I could do it the other way. Notice now I've switched my X and my G. So what that does is it switches my boxes. So now it will go into H first and then G. My input here is an X. So X goes into H. Let's write down what X is and what G is. So X is my input, it goes into H. So wherever I see an X, I put an X. So it doesn't change anything. It's still just X squared. But then in my second box, wherever I see X, I put X squared. So now I have X squared minus 1. And if I want to do that with a number, my input is 2. I'm still going to do H first. Since my input is 2, 2 will go in. And so wherever I see X in my H box, I put a 2. Okay, so I put a 2 in for X in my H box, so 2 squared is 4. And then 4 minus 1, okay, because I'm putting 4 here now. 4 goes in for X, so that is 3. Okay, so I'll put a little pause there so you can see that one. One last thing to talk about before we go on to the word problems is what about this f of x one? So remember, if they ask me to find f of 1, they are asking me to use 1 as my input, and input is my x. So they want me to put in 1 for x. So I go up here and I look to see where is it that 1 is my x? It's right there. What is my y? 2. Okay, they asked me to do f of 2. Now 2 is my x. If I go up here, here's where x is 2. And what's my y? 7. If they ask me to do f of 3, x is 3. I go up to the top. Here's where x is 3. What is my y? 12. What if they ask us to do a composition of this? What if they ask us to do f of 1? Okay, so that's going to be f with f again and see what we get out. 1 is my input. So when I put 1 into f, go up to the top, what's my output? 2. Now 2 goes into f. What's my output there? 7. So my answer is 7. And for this last one down here, this j of x, there was a little bit of confusion on this one as well. I want to point out that since it says j of x equals 8, that means it makes no difference what you put into j, you will get 8. So if you put in -2, you get 8. If you put in 0, you get 8. If you put in 42, you get 8. Doesn't make any difference what you put in, you get 8. All right, so I'll put a little pause here as well. And then the last thing I want to go over is the word problem. So to do the word problem, here's one here where we have 10 ounces containing 78%. We have that's what we need, right? And then what he's mixing is 60% iron and another one with 80% iron, but it doesn't tell us how much of those two we have. So it says how much of each should he use. That is the yellow ones, because we don't know how much they are, right? So when you define your variables, maybe easier to make your box first. You make your box first, you can figure out what your unknowns are. So we have the first one, we have the second one, and then we have the mixture. And let's see what it told us. The first one, it says he's going to need 60%, or that it has 60% iron. And the second one, it tells us it has 80% iron, but it never told us how much there were of those two. And we know that because that was the question. The question was, how much should he use of each? Okay, so since that was the question, how much should he use? And we can tell we don't know how much we have, we can call those A and B. It did tell us in the highlighted blue that he was going to have 10 ounces of the mixture, and it would have 78%. Now, we can tell now that our variables are A and B. A is the amount he needs. Okay, and if you look at the question in green, it should really tell you this. The question in green should tell you what your variables are. It says how much, so it should be an amount of each. So that's of the A and B. So how much he needs of the 60%, and B will be the amount he needs of the 80%. Okay, and so we remember we add going down, we multiply going across. Okay, so I'll say that again. Mark that on here. We add going down and we multiply going across. So I don't add in this box here because those are percentages, and you know you can't add percentages. You don't try to add 50% plus 50% and get that you're going to get 100% off some item. But we can add from the other columns. However, we don't know what's in the third column yet. So let's not try to add until we know what's in it. And how do we get the third column? By multiplying. So this one is 60A. This one is 80B. And this one is 780. Okay, so notice I just multiplied across. Now I'm going to add going down so that I can get my two equations. So the first column gives me A plus B equals 10. The second column gives me 68 plus 80B equals 780. And I can use these then to solve. Doesn't matter which way you want to do it. I kind of think it's easier to just use substitution. So let's change this just a little bit. A will be 10 minus B. So I can plug in for A now. 60 times 10 minus B plus 80B equals 780. So I took this one and I substituted in for A. So 600 minus 60b plus 80b equals 780. 600 plus 20b equals 780. 20b equals 180. B equals 9. And then it should be really easy to find the other one because we had this easy equation up there that A was just going to be 10 minus B, so A is 1. But then you got to answer your question. So he needs 1, let's see what our units were, ounces of the 60%. Okay, don't call it A. A wasn't in the story. You put A in there on your own. And 9 ounces of the 80%. See, that's the whole reason we define our variables, because A was how much he needed of 60. So if I go up there, that means he needed 1 of the 60. And B is how much he needed of 80. All right, so again, if you've done this Ed puzzle, I don't know that that's enough for you. You probably should do some more practice, but this gets you the right to be able to take the test on Tuesday. My suggestion is you do extra practice and you come before school one of those days or Zoom, or if you really want to, you can do both. All right, and I will talk to you later about the details on Tuesday.